I do think we're much more plastic than we talk about or we realize in our daily lives. And just to your point about creating robots, the more we create robots, there's neuroplasticity that comes with using robots as humans when we use them in partnerships or as tools to accelerate our capabilities.
Dr. Crum emphasizes that human brains possess far greater neuroplasticity than typically assumed. Our nervous systems constantly adapt based on the environments, experiences, and tools we use. This plasticity extends even to how we cognitively integrate and partner with robotic systems, effectively reshaping neural networks to harness emergent technologies. The interaction between humans and robots' tools is itself a catalyst for brain rewiring and functional enhancement, underscoring that neuroplasticity is dynamic and deeply intertwined with our technological context. She also highlights how the brain allocates sensory and motor cortical resources based on use and expertise. For example, musicians developing more intricate sensory maps. Therefore, neuroplasticity is not just a fixed potential, but an adaptive process influenced by behavioral demands and environmental changes. This suggests enormous opportunities to channel neuroplasticity deliberately through technology and targeted training to enhance human capability.
My practice as a musician versus my practice playing video games, all of these things influence our brain and influence our plasticity. Now, where things get kind of interesting to me and sort of my obsession on that side is every time we engage with a technology, it's going to shape our brain, right?
Dr. Crum discusses how long-standing neuroscience representations, like the homunculus, do not fully capture the shifts caused by new technologies in neural resource allocation. For example, frequent use of thumbs for texting likely alters sensory and motor cortex representations previously mapped decades ago. Our brains adapt to the data patterns and tasks we engage in, forming or repurposing cortical maps accordingly. Digital interactions, such as rapid texting, that involves integrating thumb movement with hearing one's own voice and interpreting others' voices, represent complex multisensory processing newly emphasized in the modern brain. The brain leverages existing areas but forms new functional overlaps or refines specificity to accommodate these digital communication demands. Additionally, video game play enhances low-level perceptual capacities such as contrast sensitivity and probabilistic inference speed, demonstrating concrete training effects on brain function. Thus, Dr. Crum shows that technological habits tangibly sculpt brain architecture and circuitry.
The place where I think it is, and I sort of separate it into literally just two categories. Maybe that's too simplistic. Am I using, and this is true for any tool, not just AI, but am I using the tool, am I using the technology in a way to make me smarter about and let me have more information and make me more effective, but also cognitively more effective, gain different insights? Or am I using it to replace a cognitive skill I've done before to be faster? And it doesn't mean you don't want to do those things.
Dr. Crum posits that the consequences of AI use hinge on whether it is employed to augment and deepen cognitive processing or simply to speed up tasks by substituting for mental effort. Using AI to periodically test knowledge and self-assess weaknesses actively engages germane cognitive load, the mental work required to form robust neural schemas, leading to better learning and retention. Conversely, relying solely on AI to automate creation, like writing essays or synthesis, without cognitive engagement diminishes this germane load, reducing meaningful learning and depth of understanding. She highlights research showing that students using large language models to write papers experience less cognitive engagement and transfer of information, undermining long-term mastery. To maximize benefits, learners should integrate AI tools in ways that prompt reflection, testing, and active retrieval practice rather than passive dependence. This balanced view extends beyond AI, applying to any tool. Does it make us smarter and more insightful, or just faster? The long-term cognitive health and skill development depend on how we wield these technologies.
Not at all in the ways that I think are most relevant. Maybe, there are some, side cases that think about that. And so, first, two things to think about. One, when I talk about digital twins to companies and such, I like to frame it on how it's being used, how the immediacy of the data from the digital twin. So
Dr. Crum clarifies that digital twins are not literal replicas of ourselves, but rather digital representations of select data streams reflecting relevant physiological, behavioral, or environmental parameters. These representations combine multiple interoperable data sources, such as biometric signals, environmental sensors, and situational context, to deliver real-time insights or enable actionable feedback loops. A classic example is air traffic control screens providing digitized flight positional data for rapid decision-making, which enhances situational awareness but doesn't replicate the plane. Similarly, digital twins in health might integrate sleep data, wearable biometrics, environmental conditions, and cognitive performance metrics to guide personalized interventions. The promise lies in combining broad, multimodal data to generate precise situational intelligence tailored to individual goals and states. As consumer-grade sensors improve and integrate, digital twins will empower users and clinicians to predict risks proactively, optimize performance, and tap into adaptive technologies that dynamically adjust ambient conditions, all grounded in real-time data fusion rather than static duplication.
Here's the big problem in my mind, is that we have very little understanding or even names for different awake states. We have names for the goal, like, I want to be able to work. Okay, what's work? What kind of work?
Dr. Crum and Dr. Huberman highlight a critical current neuroscience gap. While sleep phases, such as slow wave and REM, are well defined with understood physiological signatures, waking brain states are poorly characterized by objective, personalized data. This limits the ability of AI and technology to optimize daytime cognitive and physiological functioning as effectively as they do sleep. Dr. Crum envisions the integration of multi-source biometric data like pupil size, posture, breathing, CO2 levels, and environmental context, combined with AI to define individualized brain and body states during wakefulness. These systems could dynamically adjust ambient environment, lighting, sound, temperature, suggest behavioral shifts, or prompt task changes to optimize alertness, focus, relaxation, or social engagement. For example, measuring corrected pupil diameter changes can index cognitive load or arousal despite changing illumination. Wearables and surroundings equipped with computer vision, environmental sensors, and physiological monitors could collectively feed AI that identifies and nudges individuals into optimal states for diverse waking goals. Personalization is key, recognizing the variability of brain states across contexts, times, and goals, orchestrating real-time bodily and neural homeostasis beyond sleep.
there is no such thing as perfect pitch. There's absolute pitch. And so I think only because the idea of, so like, that would be A equal 440 hertz, right? But that's a standard that we use in modern time. And the different, what A is has actually changed throughout our lives with aesthetic, with what people liked, with the tools we use to create music.
Dr. Crum explains her own experience with absolute pitch, the innate ability to identify and mentally categorize musical tones by frequency without a reference. Unlike the mythical perfect pitch, absolute pitch is context-dependent. The standard A pitch, 440 Hz, has varied historically, and aging or auditory changes affect frequency perception. This unique auditory categorical perception shapes her understanding of sensory processing and neural mapping. Her exposure to various tuning standards, such as Baroque pitch at 415 Hz, effectively trained her brain to hold multiple auditory maps, highlighting adaptability and dual representations in the auditory cortex. This rare trait led her into research on multisensory brain plasticity and integration, as she studied how the brain forms and adjusts sensory maps based on inputs. The phenomena underscore how early experience and exposure influence sensory representation, with implications for how technology and training can cultivate or alter neural circuits in various domains.
Maybe this comes back to, I have absolute pitch, so I know what frequencies I'm singing. But I also recognize by having absolute pitch, I know my brain is just a little different. Again, what you asked me, what threads drive me, it's always been, we do experience the world differently.
Dr. Crum describes an experiment where she sings at particular frequencies to orb weaver spiders, eliciting visible behavioral responses. These spiderwebs act like finely tuned instruments that resonate at specific frequencies, much like a violin string, allowing spiders to detect environmental vibrations. The orb spiders use this ability to sense predators like echolocating bats and birds by tuning their webs to certain acoustic ranges. This resonant property is not merely for prey capture, but serves as an early warning system encoded in the web structure itself. Her ability to sing precise frequencies, thanks to absolute pitch, allowed her to demonstrate these resonances, revealing a fascinating cross-species example of acoustic sensory adaptation and bioengineering. It exemplifies how organisms have evolved to encode critical environmental information via specialized sensory organs or constructs, offering insights into multisensory processing and neuroplasticity in other species.
The same is true in my vehicle. You can tell whether I'm stressed or how I'm feeling just by the posture I have it sitting in my car, right? And you need AI. This is AI interpretation of data.
Dr. Crum elaborates on the transformative potential of AI-driven interpretation of real-time biometric and environmental data to enhance health and performance. Behavioral indicators such as posture in a car seat can provide rich signals about stress or cognitive state when analyzed by AI algorithms. Integration of computer vision, physiological sensors like heart rate or pupil size, and environmental monitoring, temperature, sound, CO2 levels, in home and vehicle settings enables dynamic adjustments, altering lighting, temperature, sound, or haptic feedback to help optimize focus, relaxation, sleep, or safety. She notes that consumer-grade sensors are increasingly sophisticated, sometimes rivaling medical devices, but greater system integration and open interoperability between hardware and data streams are still needed. Additionally, regulatory hurdles delay clinical adoption despite technological readiness. The vision is seamless AI assistance that passively detects state changes and proactively supports personal well-being and cognitive function. 24/7.